Hey, welcome everyone. Welcome back. Today we're joined by Mike Roberts, who's both the founder and CEO of both SpyFu and RivalFlow. Mike, welcome to the podcast. Thanks for coming.
Thanks so much for having me. It's been a great pre-green room conversation we've already had.
No, I loved it. It's been awesome, and I look forward to what we can add for the listeners and for everybody. I really want to talk more about your business and sort of let's take a step back. Let's look at why a combination of two things. What is it that you're seeing in the industry that's gone on, and why did you start the business and start and build it? Help everyone understand where you're coming, what you do, and then where you're coming from.
We're kind of talking about two companies, but they all are really under the same umbrella. Just two different brands, one company. The main company is SpyFu, and you can go to SpyFu and type in any website and see every keyword that they buy on Google, every keyword that they rank for, all their backlinks, their whole SEO picture. And even including AI answers and such. And so that's this really rich sort of source of research. And ultimately, you can connect that to ChatGPT and actually execute on, you say, hey, can you make a landing page for me that targets this keyword? Or can you help me build a marketing plan, ads for a particular topic? But RivalFlow is a company that it's a different product. It's part of SpyFu, and its goal is to take your existing content and improve it using AI. It just says, what questions are your competitors answering better than you are? And then it fills in those gaps with AI. And what that does is it's a very predictable way to move you up the rankings. Like it's basically just SEO fully automated, but in a way that will never do you any harm. You can just give this to your mother-in-law who has a website and just be like, here, run this. Everything's going to work out great for you. And it's this bulletproof SEO workflow that really 2-3X's very predictably. The actual RivalFlow logo looks what we see. And maybe I'm doing this backwards for the camera, but it's jump. It's like a very consistent jump that really, kind of crushes it.
Okay. Very cool. Very interesting, rapidly evolving space. How did you get here? Why is that the path that you went down? Why that problem? Let's talk about the journey a little bit, because
before there was SpyFu, there was no way that you could type in a website and see every keyword that they rank on and that they buy. And I had this problem that a lot of people have. It's a curse of knowledge, actually, is what it is. I built this product. I had a product before I built SpyFu, and it was called Web Scraper Plus, but I didn't originally name it Web Scraper Plus. In fact, I would never utter the words web scraper, because what I built was a product that would take data off the internet and put it into a spreadsheet or database. And what that process is called, as a nerd, is web data extraction. And I am technically correct. To this day, I am still technically correct. It is actually a process that data nerds refer to as there's extraction, transformation, and loading. And that process is called extraction. But when people think of it, when they want to search for it, they call it web screen scraping, or literally web scraping. And that's what we call it today, web scraping or web scraper. I was blind to that. In fact, I was almost not blind to it, but I was like, nah, that's not right. But it is what people search for by a factor of 20x. And what I wound up doing is kind of the oldest school of old school SEO tricks is I changed my product name to match actually that search term. And when I did that, because these were early days for me, and I built this product, I'd spent 14 months building this product, Web Scraper. And when I launched it, I was like, a lot of people, if you build it, they will come, or whatever, right? So I launched this thing and I was like, I'm going to be rich now, or at least fine. But I made $1,500 in sales in, say, 6 months. And that was obviously, I had to go back to work, but I kept working on that thing. And eventually it was the process of just changing the name that essentially 6x'd my sales overnight. Wow. And that allowed me to actually quit my job. It didn't make me rich, but it allowed me to quit my job and work on it full time. And basically the question I was trying to answer when I built SpyFu was, am I blind to something else? Because this idea of saying something in too much of a industry insider way. You think of airlines and stuff talking about low fares, whereas people actually search for cheap tickets. Cheap flights, cheap tickets. It's not really low fares. Low fares is an industry term. And so we want to uncover those things. What I did is I built this thing overnight over a weekend as a prototype, and it turns out a lot of people wanted it, a lot of people used it, and so we built that, and that now is about a $500 million a year industry. And RivalFlow is kind of natural evolution of it, because if you think of what we're doing, we're trying to figure out what the curse of knowledge is. Well, when we write content, we also have a curse of knowledge. If you're like, you've got this business process thing, and you understand SaaS economics and business, nobody else, right? Or I've got this friend who's a lawyer and he knows probate law inside and out. But what is easy to forget when you have that much knowledge is that most people don't know what the hell probate law is. But that's what RivalFlow does. Most of the time, it's filling in the gaps with AI. That's kind of the stuff that you forgot what causes you to rank, because your customers are coming to you not at your same level.
I love it. That's great. Makes so much sense. It's interesting. You're making an interesting point. I see something similar where I see companies all the time talking in their own language, whatever technical stuff that they're thinking, and forgetting, how do my customers talk? What are they looking for? They're thinking from their products and they're not thinking from that. You've basically said, well, the whole world operates that when you're searching or looking online, you're trying to find something. It's like, how do we reframe the entire thing to that entire conversation to be that way? That's fantastic. What a very cool thing. Okay, so let me go to the next step, which is, okay, very cool product. And I understand where you're coming from, the problem that you're trying to solve. Who's the customers? Who are you talking to? Who comes and says, oh, I need SpyFu or RivalFlow now as a sort of add-on to that? Who are those people?
Yeah, it's typically marketers and entrepreneurs. It can also be, marketers can be at an agency or they can be in-house. There's, I guess, two kinds of marketers, and they have a little bit of a different ICP definition or sort of persona that we deal with, but generally marketers and entrepreneurs.
Do you use your own product to find them?
How do we acquire customers? Why did I originally want to build the product? It was because I thought maybe there was some keywords that I wanted to advertise on, but I didn't know I didn't know what I didn't know, right? Literally, I was like, I could just type in searches and see if my competitors show up or not. But the thing is that even if you see your competitor there, you don't know whether or not it's a successful keyword for them. SpyFu shows you the history, shows you the keywords that they bought and then abandoned. And it also shows you the keywords that they doubled down on. Like in ads, in advertising, in Google ads in particular, people will waste money, but nobody wastes a lot of money for a long time. Otherwise, you just go out of business. Generally, you can observe the pattern. Do these people continuously buy it month over month, year over year? Or how much are they spending? And we tell that whole story. We even show you the split tests that they've run and which test won, right?
I think it's great. So you and I chatted a little bit before. We're talking about the evolution of the business over an extended period of time. And I'd love for you to share maybe some of the challenges that you faced, sort of, and I call it stall points or call it hitting walls along the way. Can you describe a couple, maybe some of the things that worked or didn't work for you to go past that point? I'd love to hear more. Everyone would.
SpyFu first of all, it's a bootstrap company. I own 100% of it, and we've never taken any capital, and that's deliberate. And the reason is because at some point I figured out that when you are choosing to take capital, you're potentially maximizing the amount of rich that you can get, but not maximizing and potentially minimizing the probability of getting rich, if that makes sense. Because there's for me at that point, I was like, if I could sell this company for $500,000, that would be amazing. And then I was like, if I could sell this company for $1 million, that would be amazing. And then I was like, 2 million. And I was like, wait, hold out. And you just keep going and going and going and kind of procrastinating this idea of either raising capital, because you don't want to raise capital when you don't have a product. You don't want to raise capital when you don't have very many customers. You don't want to raise capital until you have product market fit. Just put that off. And I just didn't necessarily shut my mind to raising capital at any point. And I also just kept saying, I'll just not sell. And the business just keeps getting more and more valuable. But there are these interesting points that you reach where acquisition and cancellations equal out. And that's where you plateau. overcoming those things is inevitable. If you keep, here's the deal with business, right? If you position it that the only way that you can fail is if you give up and then just don't give up, then you don't fail,
I love it.
right?
Oh, yeah, great. No, it's great. Hey, listen, it's a great line. That's fantastic.
And plateaus are bad. You see the goddamn plateau coming, that it's happening, and you have to figure out a way around it. And I'll tell you, I'll just give you a quick life hack. Maybe this isn't such a big deal now, but one time we had a plateau, and that was probably about $2 million. $2 million is kind of a typical plateau. Almost everybody runs into a plateau at $2 million that I know of. Every business, it seems, organizational plateau of some form. And for us, weirdly, overcoming that plateau was a matter of changing our design. Kind of as a technical founder, you'll think to yourself, well, the last person I need to hire is a designer. But if you're technical, it might actually be the first person that you need to hire. It might be close to the first, because you might not be thinking in that way, and you might not realize how much of a big deal your like sort of lack of design skills are actually costing you real money. That actually was surprising to me, but we made it past
That point and kept
roughly
going
got us
from
to
there.
about 4 or something, or 5 million or something, and what we would now call ARR. But back then I didn't even know what ARR was.
There was no term. No, I find it interesting when we talk about when you talk about your 2 million plateaus, like lots of people coming in, there are people coming and buying, right? And you're selling, and all of a sudden it's like, there's a little bit of an element of, I'm not sure exactly why people are buying from me. I don't know exactly why we've gotten all the way here. Lots of good thinking and lots of good work got into that, but I don't know exactly the formula. And what takes me past that point feels a little unknown. So in your case, design, it's something I'm not good at. Something I don't know was design. It's a different way of thinking that really
Yeah,
drove me to the next place.
right. I mean, that was a product change,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
as opposed to a marketing change. That wasn't the first. I don't think that wasn't the first sort of plateau that I got to. Frankly, actually, the first plateau that we got to was relatively early, and it was just hiring a marketing person. Like, we're literally bootstrapping from zero, right?
Yeah.
I literally have $3,000 in my bank account, or something ridiculous, right? Like, and I'm in my house, my crappy little sort of 1,400 square foot track home, me at my living room table. And then I worked my way to buy a different house and put people in it. And then this is real close to the edge kind of stuff. The SaaS business, SpyFu, launched to about $20,000 a month. And we kind of hovered in this sort of $30,000, $40,000 range. Then I did hire somebody dedicated to marketing, and so it had a lot to do with like making our email a bit more sophisticated to get past, to get ourselves, that really quickly took us to something $75,000 a month. And it's weird, right? Now you think in terms of millions of dollars in ARR. At the time, right, I definitely was thinking in terms of like dollars per month. Right? Bootstrapping is amazing, man.
Survival, man. Survive. A lot of what you're talking about, I love it and I agree. I get it, and I've seen it. I've seen so much of it, right? So let's jump a little bit to where you're at right now.
Mhm.
What's going on with you right now? And if I could peel back for everybody, it's just the two of us. No one else is listening. No, for all the listeners, let's talk a little bit about what's going great on the business over the last 12 months. Let's talk about what's maybe the biggest challenge that you've had over the last 12 months. Just give me a picture of where we're at today.
So, ironically, everybody in our industry is meaningfully impacted by what, and I mean by everybody in our industry, I'm not talking about me and my competitors or whatever. I'm talking about everybody that depends on Google for
Yeah.
traffic. Everybody is meaningfully impacted by overviews, sort of no-click searches, etc. We rank well on a lot of keywords and have historically ranked well on a lot of keywords on Google. We lost a lot of our clicks, not from any kind of a penalty, but because now those things are getting answered by Google, by AI overviews. And at some point, that impacted our acquisition by 30%.
Wow.
So yeah, that's a meaningful change, but we battle our way around. We sort of work our way around it, and it's kind of like, there's a certain solidarity to it. We help our clients solve this problem. We solve the problem ourselves. It's something that impacts the entire world, the entire industry. There may be some winners and losers, some winners in this game that I'm not quite aware of, but in general, most people have lost clicks. We try to help people. We try to help ourselves. We've moved the needle quite a bit ourselves. We're probably back to about a 12% loss year over year, but it's a big number when we lose traffic. It's large. We have a
And
lot of
is it
our customers.
Yeah, I was gonna say, but does the loss of clicks means everyone's feeling the pain? Does that mean, like, as you said, that mean that more people come running as potential customers looking for solutions? Is that the benefit of that kind of problem? I mean,
It's kind of no, we haven't gotten more customers in the last year. We've basically lost not we've like how we've had some net loss, I'd say, because we have fewer customers coming in the door from our biggest source of acquisition. But it's not terrible. It's just that it's flattened our growth curve. So we're probably in a similar boat. Literally everybody actually is,
okay.
as far as I know, has had the same thing happen. I mean, you just watch it happen in your own Google Search
Yeah.
Console, and then you claw your way back. And we're on our way up on that. It's all good.
Okay. No, it's great. Okay, so then let me throw a thing. So you could wave a magic wand and fix the biggest problem that you've had. Sounds like I have an idea of that. What would that look like? What would that be?
Well, here's the thing. Acquisition, if you think of SaaS products on like two sides of a spectrum, right? I actually think that there's two types of software products. I mean, there's a lot of different sides of SaaS products. But one side of it where you have an acquisition advantage, and the other side you have a retention advantage. And products are baked this way to some extent. For example, you don't sign up for an email provider very often,
Mm-hmm.
but when you do, you almost never cancel it.
Yep.
Therefore, email providers don't think about churn. It's not something that they have to think about because it never happens. Even if you have a CC decline, that CC decline is going to get solved by the customer because they just lost their email if they don't solve.
Yep.
And that there's, if you're a CRM provider, if you're hosting a website, there's a whole set of things that are like on that end of the spectrum. The other end of the spectrum would be things where what you're selling is like, let's say, access to a class or something.
Mm-hmm.
You use it, you're done. What's your purpose of sticking around as a SaaS customer?
Mm-hmm.
SpyFu as a research product is someplace on the let's say the left side of that spectrum, right? The high it's got an acquisition advantage because we can just say to you, hey, did you know that your competitors are doing this thing? They're buying some keywords that you're not, and they're making money on them. Would you like to see what they are? Hell yeah, you want to see what they are. You want to see what they are, and you come in and you get it, and you're like, all right. You might even feel some gratitude. You might stick around for a while just from being like, man, that was sick. That was the most amazing thing I've ever seen. But standing it alone, there's not much reason for you to stick around for a very long time,
Yep.
right? But what we do, or what we always have to do, what we need to do is basically take that inbound acquisition sort of advantage. Sorry, let me flip back to the other side, the right side of the spectrum. The challenge with those companies is that your cost of acquisition is high and so competitive. It's great because you sign somebody up for $10 and they're $10 a month and they're going to stick around for like 10 years. You're going to make $1,200 in LTV on a $10 a month customer. With SpyFu, somebody might sign up. We might make, let's say, on a $10 customer, we might make $110. We don't charge $10 a month, but it's a different economics. The thing is that if you look at how much people pay to acquire an email customer, right? An email sign up, you have to pay a lot. You have to meet that person at that one point in their life when they're willing to switch. And then you have to probably pay a huge amount to get them. And maybe you even have to pay to onboard them. You might have to hold their hand in onboarding. You're not going to break even on that customer for two or 3 years. And those are the types of companies that don't work well for Bootstrap.
Right.
They work well for venture backed because damn good and well, if you can acquire those customers, you're going to double or triple your money in the long term on that customer easily. Like, even if you pay 3 years, you're probably going to keep them for 10. But you need a bucket full of cash to acquire as many of them as you can in order to have a reasonable business. Because what are you going to do? You have $100,000 in the bank. Okay, I'll acquire $100,000 worth of email signups, email vendor, whatever they're called, and I'll break even in 3 years. I'll have my $100,000 back in 3. That's not good.
Not good.
No.
Not so helpful.
Those are the entities where you require venture capital. We can't just basically say, let's become one of those. What we need to do is take the acquisition advantage that we have and then turn the customer into a long-term customer. RivalFlow is a workflow product. It works out better for us from a long-term perspective. We've got some baked-in products that do well, keyword tracking and so on. But we just, continue to build those things out. And the company in our space there's a company in our space that out executed us, that did a great job of that, actually, SEMrush.
Okay.
What they do is they bring you in and convert every customer into longer term, SaaS products.
Right.
And that's the model that works well. It comes across as nickel and diming to customers. So we generally try to not do that. I don't always want to have surplus value. My customers will always have surplus value, right?
Mhm.
I always want to leave more money in their pockets and make them feel they have gotten more value. And we don't want to do things that are manipulative or in any way take advantage of people. So, and to some extent, some companies do. We don't do that. That's the best way to improve our product, is to continue to kind of like build out these value creating things. RivalFlow does a fantastic job creating repeatable value based on agitation. Essentially, your competitor's beating you. This is a bad thing. Let's help you out. And we literally solve their problem.
Okay.
But it's hard to come up with those ideas, frankly. It's hard to come up with ideas that work well, that actually serve the customer, but I've got a few.
Yeah, no, I'm sure you clearly you do. You clearly have a lot. Listen, I think what's most interesting here is you're talking about sort of the latest evolution of both the market. Talked about what's happening with Google with search, talking about competitors coming in and sort of splitting products or splitting flows in terms of trying to maximize both acquisition and retention. You've gone through multiple cycles of how to think through both solving the problem for the customer, but also how do you keep, I say, evolving the business, because I think that's, people use terms pivot. It's too harsh. I think that evolution and adjustment, it's a constant game of adjusting and modifying to get yourself to the right place as you go. So it's been great. You've been great with your time. I really do appreciate it, Mike. Let me one last question. I'd love to throw your way that just maybe you don't mind. No, just for the folks who are listening, if there's one piece of advice that you'd give them around just, as they're thinking about their business and as they're thinking about the process of evolution, how would you think about it? How would you get them to think about tackling that and approaching that as they go forward in terms of continuously growing their business? They're starting, but then there's what now? You've been doing 20 years, right?
I'm really into data. I love data. I understand it and can imagine like industries out of data. I've invented things with large amounts of data, right?
Yep.
What I've come to understand is that quantitative analysis kind of can, especially early, can mislead you quite a bit, especially if you're not an absolute skeptic of your own processes and have many ways of triangulating your truths, right? You have to be able to say, if I'm going to use data to get to one conclusion, I need to be able to get it. You always think of like in arithmetic, like as a third grader or whatever, you're like, okay, well, if you can add it, can you also get to the same solution by checking your math, subtracting or multiplying and dividing? But you want to be able to come to a conclusion about, is this particular thing that we're doing causing more customers to sign up or causing more people to cancel or whatever? But you need to be able to approach that from more than one data point or starting point and get to the same conclusion. And you have to be skeptical of your own ability to not guide the process. Okay. The one sort of antidote to this, or sort of piece that really can be helpful, is just talking to customers. Okay. That seems really obvious, but it's hard to get customers on the phone.
Yeah.
If you can't, I recommend using, a lot of people use GA and stuff like that, but I recommend using Microsoft Clarity and just watching people do the things, right? One hot freaking hack that I have lately to try to understand why people would cancel is to go in and watch them cancel. I would have never thought of it for some reason, but like, because you always think of watching what I'm talking about in Clarity, you can watch people click and you can watch them fill out forms. You can watch them go through all the
And
steps.
you're watching them cancel.
You're watching them use your site. I've actually not actually thought for some reason of watching people cancel. Call me an idiot. I just never did. But like, you watch
not a fun watch, but yes, useful.
it's not. I've watched people sign up. I've watched them go through the onboarding. I've watched them do all kinds of things to activate, but I've never watched them churn. And I can learn where they're getting frustrated and then they cancel. And I can kind of make some inferences, and they're not that difficult leaps. You can see somebody having if they have a bad experience and then they cancel, you're like, well, I should probably figure out why that bad experience happened. Jeez, man. I've been doing this for 20 years, dude. And for some reason, I haven't thought of and these sort of mouse click things have existed long before Clarity, but I never thought to watch people cancel. And anyways, I just did that, let's say 2 weeks ago or something.
Amazing. You're learning. You're learning. When I say learning new things all the time, there it is. There's brand new. Love it. Learn, live and learn. Okay. Hey, listen, I think it's fantastic. I think it's amazing to me. I sit with companies, I sit with founders all the time, and you're having a conversation. All of a sudden they're like, oh, there's super smart people working their asses off. And all of a sudden it's, I never thought about that. Here you are saying, I never watched anybody cancel.
I have quantitative data, a shitload of quantitative data that tells me any reason why somebody might cancel, but I've actually never watched them cancel ever.
Okay. And this is actually the last question. And here's the important thing. You have people listening and they want to find SpyFu and they want to find RivalFlow. Please tell them how they can find you, get to you. And
totally. Yeah. You go to spyfu.com. And one thing that I want you to know is that you can use SpyFu for free. You can type in your own website. You can type in your competitor's website, and all of the main stats stuff at the top. How much do they spend on Google? How many keywords do they rank on? That kind of thing. That's all right there for free, and you can use it pretty much. It's a public utility of the internet. It's the only one out there that you can do that with. There's no other competitor that we have. We've got before there was SpyFu, there were no competitors that did this. We've probably got 20 competitors or something that basically do exactly what SpyFu does at some level. It's been copied many times, and but I think they're all walled gardens. You have to at least create an account with SpyFu. Use it all you like. And from SpyFu, if you can just remember SpyFu, you can get to RivalFlow. You don't have to memorize RivalFlow necessarily. SpyFu's easy. It's Kung Fu, but how 007 might do it. And you can find me on LinkedIn. I'm Mr. Spy, MRSPY. I'm pretty much Mr. Spy everywhere, but also you can just search me up on Mike Roberts of SpyFu. There's a lot of ways.
Awesome. Well, Mike, thank you very much for your time. This is great. Really appreciate it. And guys, thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next episode.
Thanks so much. Had a great time.